today we have a very exciting box in from Thermal Master. They just released a new budget thermal camera. It's the P1. So most recently we've tested out their P3 thermal camera, and I have been using the P2 Pro for a while now. It is nice to be able to have the macro lens or zoom in really far on the board. But to be quite honest, the level of quality that these get you on the motherboard is by no means necessary. It is very nice to be able to zoom in and see exactly which O201 capacitor is lighting up, but you don't need to be able to do that with a thermal camera for it to be useful. And honestly, these guys are going to be a little bit too expensive to warrant buying for most hobbyist technicians or people who are just getting started in microsoldering. So that's why I'm really excited about what Thermal Master has created with this P1 thermal camera that we're about to look at, along with the 10% discount code that Thermal Master gave me in the description of this video, is nearing $100 for a thermal camera, which is just mind-blowing to me. I remember like not only 2 years ago, you could not get a thermal camera for under like at least 300 Canadian dollars. So this is huge. And if this thing is anywhere close to as useful as the P2 or the P3, this is a game changer for the repair space, because a lot of people who can't afford to spend $300 on a tool can now potentially afford a thermal camera that is going to be a game changer for their business. So let's stop talking and take a look at this thing. I'm really excited to see the capabilities of this thing. Again, obviously it's not going to be the same sensor as in the P2 Pro or in the P3 camera. But again, like I said, those are overkill. The macro lens and the capabilities of seeing individual components are just really like quality of life things that are unnecessary. So here it is, the P1 from Thermal Master. And fortunately, again, they have combined iOS and Android versions. So I'm wondering if we're gonna get a USB-C to Lightning adapter in this one, and if not, if it will support it, because I actually have the Lightning to USB-C adapter from the P3, so if this doesn't come with it, we can test that out and see if that works. Fortunately, the newer iPhones are coming with USB-C these days, so a lot of people are not going to even need that. You can see this says 320 by 240 Super IR resolution. This is not actually the resolution of the sensor. The sensor, I think, is a little bit lower than this. This is just along with their software image enhancements, which in my opinion are actually pretty nice and work really well on the phone at least. So here's the listing on their website. I'll have a link to this down in the description where you can grab this. Again, I have a 10% off coupon you can use, so it'll bring it down to about $109, which is again just nuts for a thermal camera. You can see it does say iOS with USB-C, so I'm not sure if this is going to support the Lightning adapter. So you can see 160 by 120 is the actual resolution of the sensor itself, and then it's just going to enhance the image using their software enhancements on the phone app up to 320 by 240. So anyways, let's actually open this up and look at it. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm just super hyped that there is now options for people who don't want to spend $300 on a thermal camera. Let's see what this comes with. So we've got nice little padded packaging here. And I'm really glad it comes with a hard case. That's super nice. My P2 Pro a while back did not come with a hard case, so it looks like it does just come with the extension cable and no lightning cable adapter, unless it's in the hard case here. No, it looks like there's no lightning cable adapter. So we'll test it with it, see if it works. But here's the camera itself, and very similar to the shape of the P3 that they just released. So with this one, I'm not expecting to be able to get up as close to the PCB as we can with the P2 Pro and the P3 thermal cameras. But again, you really don't need to be able to do that. You just need to be able to like put your finger on the thing that's getting warm, and then a lot of the times you can even just feel from there where it is. Honestly, this is just a really nice tool to be able to speed up your workflow and zero in on the part of the board that's heating that shouldn't be, when you inject voltage into a short. As an example, I have a shorted switch motherboard today that we're going to be able to test this with. I know what the problem is, but we're going to see if we can find it with this thermal camera. Again, I'm really glad that these all are coming with the hard case these days. It's nice to be able to protect your more expensive tools like this, so really happy it comes with that. For now, I'll put aside the extension cable here and we'll just take a look at the device itself. Looks like they have a little cheat sheet here for which software to use for the PC and for the app. So we're just going to be doing the Temp Master for any of the P1, P2, P2 Pro, or P3 cameras. All right, so I have their app open here on my USB-C iPhone. We're gonna test it with the Lightning port iPhone in a moment here, but I have a screen share piped into OBS here so you can see exactly what the resolution looks like versus just looking at my phone screen through this top-down camera. I want you guys to be able to see the actual resolution of this thing. So let's plug it in, and it fits nicely through the case like this, which is good to see. And wow, actually, looks really solid, not gonna lie, for a $100 thermal camera. That is insane that you can get this for $100 these days. So you can see on my mat. Let me just turn on rotation so that we can get those temperature readings the right way around. The thing on the right hand side, 1 through 5, that's just the zoom level. So you have a digital zoom. I don't necessarily recommend using that. You can just zoom in with this by bringing it closer to the board. But I mean, so far this is looking really promising for $100. Let me turn off the software enhancement so we can see the difference between this with the software enhancement on. So that's with it on, and we'll turn it off, and that's with it off. So you can see this is the true sensor here, which is a little bit lower quality than what we're getting with the software enhancement on. Obviously, it's not actually increasing the resolution when you turn on this software enhancement. It's just sort of like smoothing things out, so it's a little bit nicer on the eyes. It's not like magically increasing the resolution. So there it is again with the software enhancement on. You can just see it's just sort of smoothing things out a little bit. All right, so I have an actual motherboard here, and yeah, I can already tell like this, even this distance away from the board, you can see things are basically in focus. You can even see like the words on the SoC there. Like this is plenty for figuring out where a short is on the board. And again, we're gonna test that here in a moment. So let me just put some heat into this board with the hot air just so we can see the temperature difference. So I'm just gonna heat up the bottom left corner here with the hot air, just using some low temperature hot air so you guys can see the difference when a board is warm. But look, you can totally see individual components there. That is nuts for $100. Like without a macro lens, the fact that you can still see that right there. I mean, even these 0402 caps, you can basically see each one individually. And just for the sake of comparison, I'll point out an 0201 cap here. So this right here is an 0201 cap, and you can't really see that, right? But you can see the one right next to it, which is an 0402. But I'm sure if the 0201 cap was heating, we would be able to see, the heat spot there at least. And then from there, you can either put some alcohol on it and zoom in with the microscope and figure out what's heating up from there. Or you could just even point it out with your tweezers and then look at the microscope from there. So you really don't need, a macro lens. It is, again, I'll say it is very nice to have, but if you can't afford a $300 thermal camera and you just want something that is going to be able to expand what you can fix, this is huge. This is huge for $100. I am really impressed, I'm not gonna lie, with the quality of this. I did not think it was gonna look this clean. Obviously this software enhancement is doing some heavy lifting, you can see here, but even just without their software enhancement, like this is huge for repair techs to be able to get this kind of thing for $100. As I pointed out in multiple videos, I'm bullying you guys to get thermal cameras because I promise you it is worth the investment. Whether you spend the $100 on this one or $300 on a nicer one that can zoom in farther, I can 100% honestly say that I will be able to fix just as many things with this as I can with my nicer P3. There is zero difference in terms of what I will be capable of fixing between this and the P3. So again, this is without their super IR resolution software enhancement, and then let me just turn it on here, and you can see it's just like a little bit nicer, not increasing the resolution, but just sort of smoothing edges. So let's do a little bit of a test with this particular board. I know there's a short on this 3.3 volt rail up here. We have 0.008 voltage drop, which is way too low for this voltage rail. So this rail is shorted, and I'm going to inject voltage in this rail, and we're going to see what heats up on the board. So I've set my bench power supply to 1 volt at 500 milliamps, and we're going to inject it into this 3.3 volt rail here. So I'm going to turn the power supply on. You can see the top red section, this is my power supply, my bench power supply, and then the bottom section here that's blue, that's my multimeter. So you can see there's 1 volt right now on the positive lead, but it's 0 amps because I haven't connected this to anything yet, so it's not pulling any current. So once I connect this to the shorted rail, we should see a little bit of power being drawn, and hopefully we can see what is heating up with the thermal camera. So let me press right here, and we're not getting anything with 1 volt, so I'm not seeing anything heating up, and we're also not getting too high of a current draw. So this is not quite a dead short. If it was, we'd probably see it pulling all 500 milliamps. In this case, we might need to boost the voltage a little bit to see what's heating up. We can see right now nothing's heating really on the thermal camera, but that's because not enough current is being drawn. So the safest we can go up to here is 3.3 volts because that's what the voltage rail is designed for. But we'll just bump this up to 2 volts instead. So we're going to go to 2 volts here, and let's try again with 2 volts. So now we're getting 70 milliamps, and let's see if we can see anything that's heating. And actually, I can already see what the problem is. I'm gonna touch the rail right now, and I'm gonna let go right now. And you guys see what the issue is on the thermal camera? Even with 70 milliamps being pulled, I can see the issue. And if you're not used to using a thermal camera, you might not see what's going on here. So if you look, watch in this area right here, see that lighting up, and then when I let go, it goes away. So somehow this 3.3 volt rail is connected directly to the SoC, and the SoC is shorting out the rail. And even with just 70 milliamps being pulled, this thermal camera is able to see what is lighting up. So next, just to see, I would probably measure resistance on these capacitors right here. So right here, I'm used to seeing 10 ohms, but we're getting under 2 ohms here, 1.8 ohms. So this SoC is clearly gone. So I don't mind increasing the voltage a little bit, even though I know whatever power we're injecting here is going directly to the SoC. I know for a fact this console is completely dead anyways, which is why this is a donor board. But let me increase the voltage so you guys can see even clearer what's going on. So we're gonna go to 3 volts and I'm gonna inject right now. Look at that. You can see very clearly if I let go and tap, all of the 177 milliamps that are being drawn are going directly into that part of the SoC. And that is a very clear visual indication to me that there is a short on the die of the SoC. I'm really, really jealous and happy for anyone who's just starting in repair these days who is able to get their hands on something like this for just $100. I would have killed for this tool a few years ago, but instead back then I paid about $400 for the same kind of thing, given I did get a macro lens. But I have to say, I am pretty impressed with how far in we can go with this thing without having a macro lens. So just for fun, I'll do a little comparison here just to show you guys the difference between having a macro lens and not. So let me heat up this little main power regulator here of the switch. So that is the area with the P1. So let me pull out the P2 and we'll see what the difference is. So here's what it looks like on the P2 Pro with the macro lens. And you can see with the macro lens off, it doesn't actually get as close as the P1 does. You have to kind of hold it this far away for it to be in focus. With this camera, if you want to go close, you really have to use the macro lens. It's only this jittery because I have a crappy Android phone. It's not normally this jittery. So ignore that. And then we can compare here with the P3 where we have the focus ring. So let me just heat this up again and we can compare with the P3 here. And obviously we have the focus ring so we can go at any distance and things are just gonna be in focus. But you do have to adjust the focus ring manually. And then we'll go right back to the P1 just so you guys can see the difference. So again, there's the P1 and you can get, somewhat close to the board. It's obviously just lower resolution. It's not necessarily like that's out of focus. It's just lower resolution, but you will still be able to see, things that get hot on the board. So hopefully that was a helpful comparison between the cameras. And I'm not gonna lie, this is really all you need when it comes to doing board repair. So the last thing I want to test with my older iPhone here is if this Lightning to USB-C adapter that came with my P3 camera works with the P1. So let's plug this in here and see if this thing is going to function if you can get your hands on an adapter like this. And it looks like it's going to, which is exciting. Hey, look at that. So this works fine with the adapter. So that's really great news. This does have support for basically any single device, whether it be Android, iPhone with USB-C or iPhone with Lightning. And we're gonna test this on the computer in a moment here. I'm usually not a big fan of their computer software, but they have made some updates to it recently. So let's see if they made any updates to it or improvements to it, or if I still run into similar issues with this camera on the PC software. Just for the sake of completeness, I'll try the P1 with my older Android phone here to see if it works well with it. And yeah, absolutely no issues. And whoa, the software enhancement actually works on the P1 on this phone. I think because the P1 has a lower resolution than my other two cameras. This has no lagginess with the software enhancement on or off. There's no difference, you can see. But when I use the P2 Pro, again, this Android phone is really, really old and crappy. But look, so here's the P2 Pro with the software enhancement off, and here it is with it on. And look at this, it has issues with keeping up, I think, with the resolution of this camera maybe when it's trying to process the video feed. And just to show you that it's not my camera with the P3, we actually have the same issue on an older Android model like this. It is gonna be laggy again with the software enhancement. No problems with it off, but when I turn this on, it's laggy again. So definitely something to consider if you're one of those people who keeps their phone for 5-10 years. Honestly, the P1 seems to be potentially the move if you want to be able to use this software enhancement. I know some people don't like that and just want to keep the raw output of the camera. I think Tony from Northwest Repair said he didn't like this software option. I personally do like it, but I can appreciate that some people would want to just see the raw output of the sensor. So just something to consider. All right, now let's use this included cable here and see how this thing works with the software. So something that their download center says about the PC app, if you click this, you get brought to a Dropbox folder with some information. And it looks like they want you to remove older versions of the driver. So let me do uninstall. We're going to attempt to remove it. I fully uninstalled the version of the software I had before. You can see we just removed the drivers. So while I'm getting this installed, let me just quickly explain some of the issues I was having with this. It was conflicting with my capture card. So it would crash when I try to open it with one of my capture cards plugged in. The other thing is the image, for some reason, just didn't look the same. We have the driver, the new driver that they want us to install popping up here, which is good. And let's click launch. And this is where it normally just wouldn't open for me. And that looks like that might still be the case with this version of the software. To be sure, let's see if I can open this. And nope. So watch what happens. I need to unplug my capture card. And now when I open this, the software here opens up with no issues. So unfortunately, that's still going to be causing issues for us. So let me unplug and plug it back in. And you can see it did just show up here. And to open the camera, you have to double click it. And there we go. You can see it's working with the PC software. Again, you can just see like the PC software is having big issues with resolution, I think. I also hate this color palette. I don't know why this is the default color palette. I really like this one instead. I don't know. It just seems like the software enhancement is not enabled on their PC software. So I don't know why they don't allow us to do that here. Let me just zoom in on the same area here with it heated up, and we'll do a quick side-by-side comparison. So I'm just gonna do a quick screenshot of this and I'll compare it to the output from the phone. And now when I plug my capture card back in, the software crashes. So I really cannot recommend the PC software. It's definitely still kind of buggy and has some of the same issues that I was having before. So out of the P1, P2 Pro, or the P3, which thermal camera would I recommend? I'm not gonna lie, I would totally recommend this P1 out of these three if you are just buying a thermal camera. For the purposes of motherboard repair, this is really all you need. It's actually more than you need in terms of the resolution of this thing. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at the capabilities of this. These two do have some nice like quality of life features. And I hope you guys can see why I'm so excited about the price point of this thing. If you are doing lots and lots of board repairs and you have the extra bit of change to spare, yes, I would recommend then that makes sense to get something like the P3 where you have a little bit of a higher resolution. Those extra quality of life features may be worth that extra $200 for you if you're a shop and doing lots and lots of repairs every day. But if you're just getting into repair work and you just want to get a thermal camera to get up and running with those types of repairs where it's going to make a difference, this is really all you need. And it doesn't make any sense to buy the more expensive ones. I'm not going to lie, it just really doesn't make sense, especially with how much this supports. This alone, if you can manage to get your hands on an adapter here, works with the Lightning port, it works with the newer iPhone models with USB-C, and it works with the Androids. It actually arguably works better with older Androids as we saw before. So this is a huge W for Thermal Master and for the entire repair community. Honestly, super jealous that we're at this point where you can get something like this for $100. Let me just show you the price difference I'm talking about. So this is the P1. It's about $120 right now. With my 10% off discount code, it's gonna be closer to the $109 mark. The P2 Pro is $270. Again, this comes with the macro lens and it does have a higher resolution. Again, this is not the resolution of this camera. This is with the software enhancements. So the actual resolution of this camera is a little bit higher than the P1. So we have 256 by 192 versus on the P1, we have 160 by 120. So there is a actual difference in the sensor itself. The P3 is actually now on sale. It looks like $280. This used to be $300, I think. So $10 more only now than the P2. So it's a good time to buy the P3 if you want it. It's only $10 more. It used to be $30 more than the P2. But again, this goes past the functionality you really need from a thermal camera for this type of repair work. It's really just this quality of life stuff to have that extra bit of resolution and to be able to focus at any distance from the board versus the P1. That's really the difference you're getting between the P3 and the P1 for an extra, what, $170, $160. You're just getting a higher resolution sensor and the ability to, use that focus lens. Some people don't like the focus lens. I know Tony from Northwest Repair actually prefers the P2. Personally, especially for $10 extra, I prefer the P3. So yeah, if I were to rank these personally for what you get for the money, this is gonna have to be number 1, number 2, and number 3. And even the P2 Pro is an incredible thermal camera, but now with these other options, it's actually probably my least favorite one between these 3 right here in terms of how much you get for the money. Obviously, this one still is better than the P1. It objectively has a better sensor and you can get way closer to the board with the macro lens, like we saw with our tests. So honestly, all of these thermal cameras have their place. Buy this one if you are just doing a few repairs every week, you're not doing daily repairs. This is easily the choice there. If you're doing more repairs every day and you're gonna be using a thermal camera a lot and you like that extra quality of life and being able to zoom in really far on the board, if you like the idea of using a focus ring and having focus at any distance from the board, this is the way to go. If you like the idea of not having to deal with this focus lens and still get the benefit of either being far away or super close to the board, this is the way to go. So honestly, these are all really great sensors, but I have to say this is huge. This is just such a great option for people who don't care about all the little bits and bobs and just want something that's going to work and give them the ability to fix those boards that they couldn't before. But the downside of all of these cameras is easily the computer software. If you really want a camera that works well with the computer software, I just can't recommend any of these, to be honest, because their software is just too buggy for me to be able to recommend any of these for that purpose. But if you don't mind using your phone and you just want to be able to, get by with repairs, these are really great options. So yeah, I hope this was a helpful comparison between these 3 different camera models. If you're interested in any of these and you want to support the channel, I'll have affiliate links in the description for all 3 of these guys, along with a 10% off discount code that you can use on their website. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.